I wanted to create a movie that just was a quick guide to creating stairs. We have a stair object, that's this one here, the stair tool, so we can use that to create stairs. But the more important thing is, how do we know what size to make the stairs? How do we know how wide? How do we know what lift or height we have to go from the site up to our house? So I've created some parts here, so let's just turn off our showing the slab below. And you can see I've got my mesh below. It's on the sea level here, so there's my mesh. And I've placed an object here so I know what height that is. Let's go to our ground floor. You can see I've got another one here. This one's actually on the ground floor story. And I've got one here for my slab. So what I'm going to do is I just want to make sure I don't see any of that. I'm just going to choose layer and I'm going to go plan floor, see what I can see. So you notice my spot levels are actually on a layer that turns off when I'm there. When I go plan site, this one turns on, but the other one turns off because of its settings. So the important thing is that we want to know what the height here is and what the height on my site is, so that I can create stairs that go the correct elevation between one and the other. So we're going to turn all on. So there's one there, 44,426 and 45,158, and I'm going to need to use my calculator for this because I can't do that in my head. So we have a height of 145, 158, and we've got another height of 144,426, and I can subtract one from the other, and my height is 732 millimeters. So between here and there, 732 millimeters. Now I'm going to need that for when I come to my stair. So I'm going to use my stair settings here. This is my stair settings dialog box. So we have a height of 732. So that's 732 there. Now the elevation of this is measured to the very bottom of my stair, so that needs to be minus 732, so that my top step, or the top of my stair, ends up being at the height of my deck. Now if you accidentally leave this linked, it will link the stair from the ground floor story to the roof story. I don't want that, so I choose not linked, so that it's no longer linked between those stories. Therefore it just becomes a dumb stair in this particular place. And there's the project height there. So what have we got? Well, we've got a structure. I'm going to have stringers on the outside. If you want, you can have a monolithic. This might be the ideal thing for some of the stuff. And a monolithic landing. So we've got the flights and the landings as two separate choices. If you're going to have a beam, then you may want to have a beam in the middle as well. I'm going to choose two monolithic because at this stage I haven't decided what stairs are going to be like. Are they going to be timber stairs? Am I going to have open rises? I just haven't chosen, so I'm not going to worry about it. So I've chosen flight monolithic, the landing is monolithic, and I can choose the pen settings. I can choose the thickness. Here I can choose the thickness of my stair, my flights. I can also choose my pen settings, and you might notice I've actually got quite a thick line here, 0.5 for the cut surface. That's when I cut through the stair, and when I don't cut through, the uncut, 0.18. Let's go back to my stair overall. You'll notice here there's a whole lot of settings. So let's just start at the top here and we'll work our way through. So it's not linked, there's our elevation. How wide is my stair? Well, I want this to be quite a generous stair, so 2 meters wide. Here we've got 4 treads, and if I try to put in 5, it's just impossible. I can't put in 5. I can't change this either. This is fixed. Now the reason this is fixed is because it has been calculated. If I've got my riser height, a minimum and a maximum, if I turn those off, I might have more control here about what kind of stair to use. So you can see now that I've turned off my maximum minimum, I've got two options. 183 millimeter riser or 146. So 150 is not an option because that just wouldn't work out as a multiple of this. So if we choose a 146 riser, I've now got 5 treads or 5 risers. What about my treads? Here I can choose my treads. So my going, I can turn these two off, and then I can have a little play with how I want this. Now in this particular, it's a flexible going depth. This one we want to lock it. We want to make that about 320 millimeters going, because we'd like a nice gentle stair. If we want to, we can do it by angle, and we can go through some settings there, but I just want to keep this really simple. So I've got my width, I've got my number of treads, number of risers, so I should say. There's my riser height, there's my tread depth, and you can see here I've got 2R plus G, so twice riser plus going equals 613, which is around about a comfortable amount. If you change some of these and make them a little bit different, then you'll find that it doesn't feel as nice for people. So let's come down here. I'm not going to worry about all of this, but there is possible to put in goings and head heights and that kind of thing. So let's have a look at our structure. We've looked at that already, so we can use monolithic. Yes, 150 thick, and there's my pens. Landing, there's my pen again, and let's just have a look here, 0.18. Now if you want this outline to stand out a little bit more, maybe what we need to do is to choose a slightly thicker pen. So there's one here, I think I'm looking for 0.35, that one there. So I could choose pen 49 for that. Don't forget you have to choose this one as well, 49, there it is. Oh, thank goodness Archicad's chosen it for me for both. Cool, so I've got a heavier line, so when I place this on my drawing it should show up heavier than other objects. What about my finish? We've got the tread, finish, we could apply a texture to that, but what I'd really like to look at is this next part here, the floor plan display, because we have the option here of putting our walk line and things like that on it. So let's have a look. So there's my floor plan. Let's have a look at my grid and structure. So I've chosen here my particular pen type for these different parts. So the going is 0.18, the contour line 0.18, and we could also change that and make that slightly heavier as well. So that's my going. There's my going pen there, 0.35. So that should make a heavier pen for that. Now let's come down to some of these other parts. There's something I'd like to cover here, which is to do with the brake mark. Do we want a built-in brake mark? So if the stair is high, you can have a zigzag brake mark. In this case it's too low for the brake to actually take effect. That's cool. Now the walk line is where the arrow is. So this is my walk line here. I want to make sure that it goes up. We've got a choice over what kind of walk lines we use. This one or that one. I'm going to choose the built-in walk line, and you can see it's got a nice little arrow on the end of it. That's an arrow that I like rather than the other one. Do we want numbering? We want numbering on all risers, so we have this option here, and we can choose built-in numbering or numbering 22, so I'll use that one. Up down text, text one position. Do we want to show on all relevant stories? We may not want to. Remember, this is just a very simple stair. Up down text, and we've got our description. So that's all I want to cover just at the moment. I might come back to it. So now the trick is we're going to start our stair with a click. We're going to move our stair, and you'll notice that it's 5 treads, so it's not going to go any higher than this. Click again and it's finished. Back to our arrow tool. Now I'm going to grab hold of that stair, so I'm going to use my Control D. I'm going to move that stair from the center to my deck, and if I want to, I might want to line this up. So again, I'll do my Control D, click there, going to move that along, touch that point, make sure you get that circle, and then make sure it lines up. So now the edge of that stair lines up with the edge of that wall. Now this should be at the correct height, so we will have to check just in case I've done something wrong. So I'll just double check to make sure. Let's have a look, and we've got here the stair, so it should be at the correct elevation. Now it is on the Archicad layer, which means that it will show up everywhere. It's not what I want. So when do we want it to show up? Do we want it to show up whenever there's a floor? So I can choose the design floors for that. And if we go to our 3D view, there's my stair there. Now you'll notice the stair is a little bit too high. So let's go back and have a look at our settings for that. So we've got our treads, it's not linked. What about our flights? Cut lines. Now there is an option for us to turn off the top tread. End with riser, end with tread, or end with riser. So we want to end with a riser. So let's have a look at that. and there it is there. So you can see I've actually taken that top part away, and there's my stair. Now if it's still at the wrong elevation, or if it's still too high, then try just editing it here, or you might better use your move command. So if I just grab hold of that and I just move it down, you notice I'm moving it in the Z direction, and I've just moved it there so it's got the right height. So it's actually sitting in the ground a little bit at the front edge, and my stair goes up.